At 11:47 p.m., March 23, 1945, First Lieutenant Frank Delano, 24 years old, 89 combat missions completed, feels the Northrop P-61 Black Widow shudder as something tears through the aircraft's nose cone. He's 18,000 feet above Nuremberg, Germany, in an aircraft nicknamed Silent Reaper, and the instrument that's kept him alive through 31 kills has just died. The SCR-720 radar system, 400 pounds of vacuum tubes, cathode ray displays, and mechanical scanning mechanisms, goes dark instantly. The green phosphorescent blip representing 5 German Messerschmitt Me-262 jet fighters vanishes from the scope. His radar operator, Technical Sergeant Paul Hendricks, 25, stares at the dead screen in the compartment behind Delano's cockpit, watching sparks cascade from shattered electronics. "Radar's completely dead, Lieutenant," Hendricks reports, his voice tight. Shrapnel took out the transmitter assembly and both waveguides. Delano has hunted 31 German aircraft in darkness using that radar. Without it, he's blind in a moonless sky, pursuing jets that fly 120 miles per hour faster than his twin-engine night fighter. The Me-262s are heading toward an American bomber stream, 84 B-17. Flying fortresses returning from Dresden. Exhausted crews navigating by dead reckoning, no fighter escort, completely vulnerable. 840 men. That's the number burning in Delano's mind. Not statistics, not mission parameters. Men who've already survived Berlin's flak batteries, who have families waiting in Kansas and Georgia and Maine, who've earned the right to see tomorrow. The mission objective is clear. Destroy the jet fighters before they reach the bomber stream. Standard night interception doctrine requires radar for detection, tracking, approach, and firing solution. The SCR-720 can track targets 5 miles away, guide Delano to within 1,000 feet, position him in the enemy's blind spot. Without it, he's supposed to break off, return to base, let another night fighter take over. But there is no other night fighter. The 426th Night Fighter Squadron has 3 P-61s operational tonight. One is grounded with hydraulic failure. The second is 90 miles south, already engaged. Delano is the only aircraft between those 5 jets and 84 bombers. He thinks about the bomber crews. Young men, most of them. Kids, really. Navigator from Ohio who showed him photos of his newborn daughter 3 weeks ago. Waist gunner from Brooklyn who never stops talking about his mother's cooking. Pilot from Montana who flies every mission with his wife's handkerchief tucked in his flight jacket. Night fighter pilot mortality rates tell the story. 34% killed in action by March 1945, not from enemy fire, but from mid-air collisions in darkness, from flying into terrain they couldn't see, from overshooting targets and stalling into spins. The P-61 Black Widow is America's purpose-built night fighter, 61 feet wide, 20mm cannons and a remote-controlled turret, top speed 366 miles per hour. Against Me-262s, making 540 miles per hour, Delano needs every technological advantage. He just lost the most important one. The temperature at 18,000 feet is negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Delano's breath fogs inside his oxygen mask. Through the canopy, he sees nothing. No stars, no moon, no horizon. Just absolute darkness and the faint blue glow of his instrument panel. His turret gunner, Staff Sergeant Robert Martinez, 23, sits in the rotating turret behind the cockpit, hands on the twin .50 caliber machine gun controls. Martinez has fired 14,000 rounds in combat, destroyed 8 German aircraft, never missed a target Delano put in front of him. But Martinez can't shoot what he can't see, and in this darkness, visual range is maybe 200 feet. If the target has navigation lights, which German jets never do during combat. Delano checks his airspeed, 285 miles per hour. The jets are pulling away. In 4 minutes, they'll reach the bomber stream. He has perhaps 90 seconds to make a decision that will determine whether he tries something impossible or whether 840 men face jets in darkness without warning. His hands grip the control yoke. Every instinct says, turn back. Every regulation demands it. But regulations don't account for the human cost of surrender. They don't measure the weight of 840 lives against one pilot's fear. "Lieutenant," Hendricks says quietly, "we can't fight what we can't see." "Then we learn to see differently," Delano responds. The crisis deepens at 11:49 p.m. Delano's radio picks up German communications, clipped Luftwaffe transmissions, coordinating the jet attack. The Me-262s are splitting into 2 elements. 3 aircraft targeting the bomber stream's lead formation, 2 aircraft positioning for a second pass. Standard jet fighter doctrine, high-speed slashing attacks, 30mm cannons firing explosive rounds that can tear a B-17 apart with 3 hits. Delano knows the mathematics. Each Me-262 carries 360 rounds across 4 cannons. Firing time, 32 seconds. In a single attack run, 1 jet can destroy 2, maybe 3 bombers. 5 jets could kill 15 aircraft, 150 men, before the bomber gunners even acquire targets. The B-17's .50 caliber turrets are effective to 1,000 yards in daylight. In total darkness, against jets moving at 540 miles per hour, the bomber's defensive fire is nearly useless. The P-61's 4 20mm cannons in the nose are loaded with 200 rounds each, high explosive incendiary rounds that can shred an Me-262's engine nacelle, puncture fuel tanks, destroy flight control systems. But Delano needs to be within 400 yards, tracking smoothly, firing a 3-second burst directly into the jet's flight path. Without radar positioning, that's impossible, unless he makes it possible. 11:51 p.m. The first crisis moment arrives. Delano hears it before he understands it. A change in the German radio transmissions. The jet formation leader is acknowledging visual contact with the bomber stream. Delano has maybe 2 minutes before the first jet attack begins. He makes the decision that will define the next 18 minutes of his life. He's not breaking off. The immediate aftermath of losing radar is pure sensory deprivation. Delano reduces throttle to 240 miles per hour, forcing his breathing to slow, his heartbeat to calm. Fear is a luxury he can't afford. Those bomber crews don't have time for his doubt. Then he does something that makes Hendricks protest through the intercom. He opens the small ventilation window beside his left elbow. Freezing air blasts into the cockpit at -15 degrees. "Lieutenant, we'll lose cabin pressure." "I need to hear them," Delano says, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at his chest. The Me-262's junkers. Jumo 004 turbojet engines produce 1,880 pounds of thrust each, generating a distinctive high-pitched whine fundamentally different from propeller-driven aircraft. At full power, an Me-262 sounds like a sustained scream, compressor blades spinning at 8,700 RPM, exhaust gases exiting at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. In theory, Delano could hear that sound from 2 miles away in perfect conditions. But conditions aren't perfect. The P-61's own engines create 4,200 horsepower of competing noise. Wind screams through the open vent at 240 miles per hour. Delano's leather helmet and oxygen mask muffle everything further. He's trying to hunt supersonic jets using human hearing in an environment designed to destroy it. It's insane. It's impossible. It's the only chance those bomber crews have. Martinez, in the turret, rotates his position 360 degrees, scanning with binoculars. The turret's electric motor hums as it tracks, but Martinez sees nothing. No exhaust flames, no silhouettes, no heat signatures. Hendricks spreads maps across his cramped navigation table, tracking estimated positions using dead reckoning. The bomber stream is 23 miles northeast, heading 268 degrees, altitude 16,000 feet. The jets were last on radar heading 255 degrees, descending to attack altitude. Hendricks marks positions with grease pencil, calculating intercept angles, but every calculation includes impossible variables. 11:53 p.m. Secondary crisis. Fuel becomes critical. The P-61 carries 640 gallons, giving 4 hours endurance at cruising speed. But Delano isn't cruising. He's been at combat power for 90 minutes. His fuel gauges show 180 gallons remaining. At current consumption rate, he has maybe 45 minutes before he must break off or risk running out of fuel over enemy territory. The physics problem is brutal. The Me-262 jets can outrun him by 174 miles per hour. They can outclimb him at 3,900 feet per minute, versus the P-61's 2,540. They can dive away at speeds exceeding 600 miles per hour. Delano's only advantage is maneuverability. The P-61 can turn inside an Me-262's turning radius, but that advantage means nothing if he can't find them first. "Lieutenant," Hendricks says, his voice carrying the weight of what he's about to report. "I'm picking up bomber stream radio. Traffic. They're reporting unidentified aircraft approaching from the south." The south. The jets are already positioning. Those bomber crews, men who've flown through hell over Berlin, who've watched friends die in burning aircraft, who deserve to make it home, are about to face an enemy they can't even see coming. Not if Delano can help it. He banks hard left, pulling 4 Gs, the P-61's airframe groaning in protest. He rolls out heading 185 degrees, accelerating to maximum speed. The engines roar, fuel consumption spikes, but he needs every mile per hour. Every second of delay is another second those jets get closer to 840 men who are counting on protection they don't even know exists. Then he hears it. Through the screaming wind and engine noise, a high-pitched whine. Distant, faint, but unmistakable. Jet engines at high power. It's the sound of death approaching, and it's the most beautiful thing Delano has ever heard because it means he still has a chance. He kills his right engine, letting the propeller windmill, reducing his own noise by half. The whine becomes clearer. Multiple engines, slightly out of sync, creating a wavering tone that speaks of formation flying, of pilots maintaining position, of predictable German discipline. "Martinez, do you hear that?" Delano asks. "Affirm, Lieutenant. Bearing northeast, I think. Maybe 2 miles. Maybe. In darkness, sound direction is nearly impossible to determine. Sound reflects off cloud layers, refracts through temperature inversions, plays tricks on human perception. Delano could chase an echo while the real jets attack from a completely different direction, and 150 men would die because he guessed wrong. But guessing wrong by doing nothing guarantees their deaths. Guessing wrong by trying at least gives them a chance. He restarts the right engine, advances throttles to 90%, turns toward the sound. The P-61 accelerates through 280 miles per hour. Hendricks is frantically calculating. If the jets are 2 miles away, traveling at 450 miles per hour, in attack approach, Delano has approximately 2 minutes to intercept before they reach firing range on the bombers. 120 seconds to save 840 lives. The mathematics are simple. The execution is anything but. The crew coordination happens without discussion. born from months of flying together, of trusting each other when trust is the only thing standing between survival and death. Hendricks abandons navigation, focuses entirely on radio intercepts, translating German transmissions in real time. Lead element acknowledging target acquisition, altitude adjustment to 16,500 feet, attack run, commencing in 60 seconds. Martinez abandons the binoculars, instead watching for muzzle flashes. The 30mm cannons produce distinctive orange strobes when firing. If the jets open fire on the bombers, Martinez will at least know their exact position. Cold comfort for the crews who will die in that first burst, but it's something. Delano flies straight ahead, listening with an intensity that makes his head ache. The jet whine is louder now, definitely closer. He estimates 1 mile, maybe less. But in which direction exactly? He tries turning his head left, right, judging sound intensity. The whine seems stronger when facing 35 degrees right of his nose. He banks right, gentle turn, trying not to lose airspeed. The sound increases. He's getting closer. His heart hammers against his ribs, but his hands remain steady on the controls. Fear and determination war inside him, and determination wins because it has to. Because 840 men don't have the luxury of his fear. 11:55 p.m. The engagement hook moment. Delano's heart rate is 142 beats per minute. His hands grip the control yoke with enough force to whiten his knuckles inside leather gloves. Every fiber of his being screams that this is suicide, that he's about to attempt something that violates every principle of radar-guided night fighting, that he's 1 man against 5 jets in absolute darkness. But he's not 1 man. He's 3 men, himself, Hendricks, Martinez, bound together by training and trust, and the absolute refusal to let those bomber crews die without a fight. And those 3 men are worth more than 5 jets, because those 3 men are fighting for something bigger than themselves. The physical toll is already mounting. The negative 15-degree temperature has turned Delano's feet numb, despite heated flight boots. His oxygen mask chafes where frost has formed on the rubber seal. Hendricks, in the unheated rear compartment, shivers violently, blowing on his hands between radio intercepts, but his voice never wavers when he reports, "German transmission, lead element aborting attack run. They're reporting a night fighter in the area." The jets have spotted him. Somehow, despite the darkness, despite the clouds, German pilots have visual contact with the P-61. Delano immediately understands his exhaust flames. The R-2800 engines, despite flame dampeners, still produce faint blue exhaust visible from certain angles. He's been hunting the jets while inadvertently revealing his own position. The hunter has become the hunted. The jet whine changes pitch, engines accelerating to maximum power. They're running or repositioning. In darkness, it's impossible to know which, and the difference determines whether Delano lives or dies in the next 60 seconds. Delano firewalls the throttles. The P-61 surges forward, but even at maximum speed of 366 miles per hour, he's still 174 miles per hour. Slower than jets at full power. In a straight chase, they'll disappear in 90 seconds. But Delano isn't chasing blindly anymore. He's listening to where they're going, reading their intentions through engine sounds, through German radio transmissions, through the geometry of pursuit that he's internalized across 89 missions. And what he hears tells him something crucial. These German pilots are good, but they're also predictable. They're following doctrine, maintaining formation discipline, doing exactly what their training demands. Predictability is vulnerability. The jet engine whine is moving left, northwest. The formation is scattering. Hendricks translates frantic German radio calls. Leader braking left. Element 2 diving. Maintain separation. Then Martinez suddenly yells, "Flash! 2 o'clock low!" Orange strobes pierce the darkness. Muzzle flashes from 30 Malinkus cannons. One of the jets is firing, not at bombers but at the P-61. Tracers arc through darkness 600 yards away, the jet's weapons testing Delano's position. The rounds miss by 200 yards, but they reveal the shooter's location perfectly. It's the opening Delano needs. The moment when fear transforms into focus, when impossible becomes merely improbable, when 3 men in a damaged night fighter decide that surrender isn't an option. Delano rolls inverted, pulls through into a split S maneuver, diving toward where the muzzle flash originated. The P-61 accelerates through 400 miles per hour in the dive, gaining on the jet momentarily. Altimeter unwinding 17,000, 16,500, 16,000 feet. He rolls wings level at 15,800 feet, pulls 5 Gs coming out of the dive, blood draining from his head, vision tunneling, but he doesn't black out because he can't afford to black out because 840 men are counting on him, even though they don't know he exists. He scans ahead. Nothing visible. The jet is gone. But the whine is still there, behind him now. Delano has overshot. The jet didn't run. It turned hard, reversed direction, positioning for another attack. Classic Luftwaffe doctrine. Use superior speed to dictate engagement geometry. The roles have reversed. Delano is now the target, and the German pilot is closing for the kill, and everything depends on what happens in the next 5 seconds. 11:58 p.m. Delano makes a decision that contradicts every tactical manual ever written. He reduces power to 60%, slows to 220 miles per hour, and turns directly toward the bomber stream. He's making himself bait. "Lieutenant, what are you doing?" Hendricks asks, and there's fear in his voice now, raw and honest. "Those jets want to kill bombers," Delano says, his voice carrying a calm he doesn't feel. "We're going to make them choose, attack the bombers and expose themselves to us, or engage us and let the bombers escape." It's psychological warfare with physics constraints. The Me-262s have maybe 20 minutes of fuel remaining at combat power before they must return to base. They're already committed to this attack. They can't simply leave. But if Delano positions himself between the jets and the bombers, the German pilots face an impossible choice: complete their mission and risk destruction, or survive by abandoning their objective. Delano is betting 840 lives, and his own, that German pilots value mission completion over personal survival. It's a bet based on respect for his enemy's courage, and on the understanding that brave men on both sides of this war are trapped in the same impossible mathematics of duty and death. Martinez rotates the turret constantly, hands on the .50 caliber triggers, ready to fire at anything that moves. The twin machine guns are loaded with armor-piercing incendiary rounds, 600 rounds per gun, cyclic rate 800 rounds per minute. If Martinez gets 2 seconds on target, he can pump 50 rounds into an Un-262. That's enough to destroy engines, rupture fuel lines, kill pilots. But he needs a target first. And in this darkness, targets don't announce themselves until they're already firing. The crew coordination becomes pure instinct, the kind of wordless communication that only develops when 3 men have kept each other alive through dozens of missions, when trust isn't a choice but a survival mechanism. Hendricks monitors radio, calling out German transmissions the instant he hears them. Martinez watches for visual signatures, exhaust flames, silhouettes against slightly lighter sky. Delano flies the intercept course, listening to engine sounds, tracking multiple acoustic signatures simultaneously, his mind processing inputs that shouldn't be processable. 12:01 a.m., March 24th, 1945. The jets make their choice, and Hendricks hears it first. All elements engaging a night fighter. Ignore the bombers. Delano grins inside his oxygen mask, and it's not a pleasant expression. It's the grin of a man who's just forced his enemy into a mistake, who's traded his own safety for the lives of 840 strangers, who understands that the best kind of victory is the one where you protect others by drawing fire onto yourself. The bomber crews are safe. Now he just has to survive. The first jet appears at 12:02 a.m., not as a visual contact, but as a sound moving at incredible speed from Delano's 7 o'clock position. The whine builds from faint to overwhelming in 3 seconds. Delano rolls hard right, pulling maximum G-force, the P-61 shuddering at the edge of accelerated stall, his vision graying out, his body crushed into the seat by forces trying to rip the aircraft apart. Tracers arc past the canopy, 30mm rounds missing by 50 feet. The jet overshoots, the whine Doppler shifting as it screams past Delano's nose, barely visible as a darker shadow against dark sky. "Contact!" Martinez yells, turret already rotating, but the jet is gone before he can fire, swallowed by darkness that gives and takes with equal cruelty. Delano reverses left, trying to follow, but the jet is already 2 miles ahead, looping back for another pass. He's fighting an enemy he can hear but rarely see, using a heavy night fighter against aircraft designed to dominate through speed. And the only thing keeping him alive is the skill earned through 89 previous missions and the absolute refusal to quit while bomber crews still need protection. The physical toll accelerates. Delano's neck muscles scream from repeated high G turns. His flight suit is soaked with sweat despite the freezing temperature. Hendricks has stopped shivering in the rear compartment. A bad sign. Early hypothermia setting in. But Hendricks keeps working because that's what you do when your pilot is keeping you alive. 12:04 a.m. Second jet attack. This time from above, diving at 520 miles per hour. And Delano hears the whine change pitch. Doppler shift indicating closure. Death approaching at supersonic speeds. He pushes the yoke forward, diving, unloading G-force, the P-61 accelerating downward in a race against physics and time. The jet's cannons flash orange, 400 yards astern. Rounds crack past the tail section, one hitting the left stabilizer with a sound like a hammer on sheet metal. The P-61 shudders but keeps flying, and Delano feels gratitude for the engineers who built this aircraft strong enough to absorb punishment that should be fatal. He pulls out at 14 down 200 feet, the jet screaming overhead. But this time, Martinez is ready. The turret tracks the jet's silhouette for 1.5 seconds, enough time to fire an 80-round burst, tracers reaching toward the ME-262 like angry fingers seeking vengeance. Impacts spark along the jet's left engine nacelle. The aircraft pulls hard right, trailing smoke. First kill, probably. In darkness, Delano can't confirm the jet crashed, but the engine damage is severe enough to force the pilot out of the fight. One jet down. 840 lives saved. 4 jets remaining. But the fuel gauge shows 95 gallons. Delano has maybe 15 minutes before he must break off or die over enemy territory. 15 minutes to finish a fight that's already pushed him beyond every limit he thought he had. The jets changed tactics at 12:06 a.m. Instead of individual attacks, they coordinate, two jets attacking simultaneously from opposite directions. Delano hears both engine whines, one from 3 o'clock, one from 9 o'clock, closing at combined speed exceeding 900 miles per hour. He can't evade both. Physics doesn't allow it. Geometry forbids it. He has to choose which jet kills him, unless he refuses to accept that choice. He turns into the 9 o'clock threat, accepting that the 3 o'clock jet will get a shooting opportunity. It's calculated sacrifice. Minimize one threat, survive the other, trust his crew to handle what he can't. It's the mathematics of survival when survival seems impossible. The 3 o'clock jet fires 30mm rounds walking across the P-61's right wing. 2 hits, explosive shells detonating against the aileron. The control surface shreds, fabric and aluminum peeling away. Delano loses 40% of his right roll authority instantly. The aircraft wants to roll left now, fighting his inputs, making every maneuver a battle against the aircraft itself. But the 9 o'clock jet comes into Martinez's firing arc, and Martinez doesn't hesitate. The turret rotates, both 50 calibers roaring their defiance into darkness. Tracers converge on the jet's cockpit. The canopy shatters. The Mi-262 snaps inverted, enters a flat spin, disappearing into darkness below. Second kill confirmed. 3 jets remaining. But Delano's aircraft is crippled. The damaged aileron makes coordinated turns nearly impossible. He needs full left aileron just to fly wings level. Fuel, 78 gallons. Time remaining, maybe 12 minutes. 3 jets still hunting, and he's flying an aircraft that's slowly tearing itself apart. The odds say he should run. The regulations demand it. But 840 bomber crew members are safely heading home because he refused to quit. And Delano isn't about to start quitting now. 12:09 a.m. The remaining 3 jets regroup, forming a tactical element 3 miles north. Delano hears German radio coordination. They're planning a simultaneous 3-axis attack, 1 jet high, 1 low, 1 level. It's a killing box. No matter which way Delano turns, at least 1 jet will have a firing solution. It's the trap that's killed better pilots than him. The maneuver that allows no escape. The geometry of death, precisely calculated, professionally executed. Hendrix's voice is weak from cold, but determined. "Lieutenant, we should break off. We saved the bombers. Mission accomplished." Delano checks his fuel. 72 gallons. If he turns for base now, he'll barely make it. But 3 Mi-262s will remain operational, free to hunt bombers tomorrow night, the night after, until they're finally destroyed. 3 jets mean 30 dead bomber crews. 300 men who'll die because Delano chose survival over duty. He thinks about those men, about the navigator from Ohio with the newborn daughter, about the waist gunner from Brooklyn who loves his mother's cooking, about the pilot from Montana and his wife's handkerchief, about all the men who will fly tomorrow and the next day and the day after that. He thinks about what it means to be the shield between death and the innocent, what it costs, what it's worth. Negative, Delano says, and his voice carries the weight of a decision that transcends regulation and reason. We finish this because that's what heroes do. Not because they're fearless, but because they're terrified and do it anyway. Not because they want glory, but because they can't live with themselves if they quit. Not because they're superhuman, but because they're deeply, perfectly human. And humanity, at its best, means protecting others, even when protection demands everything you have. 12:11 a.m. The 3 jets attack simultaneously. And it's beautiful and terrible. A perfectly executed killing maneuver. German precision at its finest. The kind of coordinated assault that should guarantee victory. Delano hears all three engine signatures converging. High-pitched whine from above, medium pitch from level, low pitch from below. The sound creates an auditory cage, a symphony of death closing from three directions simultaneously. He has perhaps 4 seconds before all three jets enter firing range. 4 seconds to live or die. 4 seconds to prove that courage matters more than technology. 4 seconds to show that 3 men who refuse to quit can beat 5 jets that should be unbeatable. He does something insane. He stops flying. Throttles to idle. Flaps extended. Landing gear deployed. The P-61 decelerates violently from 260 miles per hour to 180 in 3 seconds. And every alarm in the cockpit screams warnings about stall speed and imminent death. The jets, traveling at 480 miles per hour, overshoot catastrophically. All three scream past Delano's position, unable to slow fast enough. Their attack plan destroyed by physics they didn't anticipate, and courage they didn't expect. Martinez's turret tracks the level jet, the only one close enough for effective fire. He unleashes a 120-round burst, walking tracers across the jet's fuselage from tail to nose. Hits spark like fireworks along the airframe. The jet's right engine explodes, fuel and aluminum fragmenting into an orange fireball that briefly turns night into day. Third kill confirmed. 2 jets remaining. Fuel, 64 gallons. Maybe 10 minutes left. But the sudden deceleration has consequences. Delano's airspeed is below 180 miles per hour, dangerously slow, approaching stall speed. He retracts gear and flaps, advances throttles, but the P-61 takes precious seconds to accelerate. During those seconds, the 2 remaining jets loop back, repositioning, learning from their dead comrades' mistakes. 12:13 a.m. Coordinated attack from 6 and 12 o'clock. Delano hears both whines building, recognizes the geometry of the trap. He's accelerating through 220 miles per hour, but it's not enough. The jets have him. This time, there's no clever maneuver, no trick that physics allows. This time, he's simply going to die. The 6 o'clock jet fires first. 30 mm rounds tear through the P-61's left engine. The Pratt & Whitney R-2800 disintegrates in spectacular fashion. Pistons, crankshaft, cylinder heads fragmenting in cascading mechanical failure. Oil pressure drops to 0. Engine fire warning illuminates, bathing the cockpit in red emergency light. Delano kills fuel to the left engine, activates fire suppression. Halon gas floods the nacelle, smothering flames, but the engine is destroyed. He's flying on single-engine power at 18,000 feet over Germany, with a damaged aileron, critically low fuel, and 2 jets positioning for the killing shot. Every rational calculation says he's dead. Every statistical analysis confirms it. The mathematics of aerial combat, precisely calculated across thousands of engagements, give him 0 chance of survival. But mathematics don't account for Martinez. The 12 o'clock jet positions for the kill, nose pointed directly at the P-61, cannons firing, 30mm rounds tracking toward Delano's cockpit with mathematical precision. Delano sees muzzle flashes 300 yards ahead, sees death approaching at 1,800 feet per second, sees the end of everything. Then Martinez does something extraordinary. He rotates the turret forward beyond its normal firing arc, forcing the electric motor past safety stops, mechanical components grinding in protest. The twin 50 calibers point almost straight ahead, aimed at the approaching jet, through an angle that wasn't designed into the turret's range of motion. Martinez fires into the darkness where the muzzle flashes originated. It's desperation shooting, blind fire into nothing, a Hail Mary that violates every principle of aimed fire. One tracer stream intersects the jet's cockpit by pure chance, or maybe not chance. Maybe it's skill earned through 14,000 rounds fired in combat. Maybe it's the kind of miracle that happens when good men refuse to quit. Maybe it's both. The canopy shatters. The pilot slumps. The Me-262 noses over, diving out of control, and Delano feels something break inside his chest. Not physical, but emotional. Relief and grief tangled together, because that German pilot was somebody's son, somebody's brother. And he died, doing his duty, just like Delano is doing his. War doesn't allow time for that grief. Not yet. Fourth kill confirmed. 1 jet remaining. Fuel, 51 gallons. Maybe 8 minutes. Delano's P-61 is dying. Single-engine power can't maintain altitude. He's descending through 17,400 feet at 300 feet per minute. The damaged aileron vibrates violently, threatening to tear completely free. Airspeed decreasing, 210, 205, 200 miles per hour. The last jet circles at distance, engine whine fading, then returning. The German pilot is smart. He's staying outside the P-61's firing arc, waiting for Delano to lose more altitude, become even more vulnerable. It's professional. It's patient. It's exactly what Delano would do in his position. 12:16 a.m. Hendricks reports through chattering teeth. Fuel critically low. We have maybe 10 minutes remaining. Martinez adds, ammunition, 200 rounds left. The mathematics are simple and brutal. Delano is descending through 16,800 feet in a crippled aircraft, hunting a jet pilot who's learned from watching 4 wingmen die. And time is running out for everyone. The bomber stream has scattered safely. Crews reporting the Me-262 threat eliminated, heading home to bases in England where ground crews and hot coffee and tomorrow await. Those 840 men will never know the name Frank Delano. They'll never know that 3 men in a crippled night fighter drew 5 jets away from them. That courage and skill and desperate innovation saved their lives. But Delano knows, and that's enough. The jet makes its final approach at 12:18 a.m. The whine builds from Delano's 4 o'clock position. High attack, diving at maximum speed. This pilot has learned from watching 4 wingmen die. He's attacking from an angle where Martinez's turret can't track fast enough, where Delano's damaged controls can't maneuver effectively. It's the perfect attack. Textbook execution. The killing blow. Delano rolls inverted with his crippled aileron, fighting the aircraft every inch, the P-61 protesting with groans and shudders. He pulls through, pointing the nose straight up. Aerobatic. Suicide on single-engine power. But it rotates the aircraft's axis, brings Martinez's guns to bear on the diving jet. The turret tracks, electric motor screaming. Martinez fires his last 200 rounds, and there's something beautiful about it. Tracers arcing upward into darkness, desperation made visible. 3 men's refusal to quit expressed in streams of light. The Me-262 flies directly into the stream. Not because the German pilot is careless, but because sometimes skill meets luck, and luck doesn't care which side you're on. Hits march across the jet's nose. The radar housing shatters. Cockpit instruments explode. The pilot pulls hard left. Too hard. Panic overriding training. The jet's airspeed is too high for that G-loading. The right wing rips off at the root. The Me-262 tumbles, both engines still screaming, cartwheeling through 14,000 feet before impacting terrain with a flash visible 30 miles away. 5th kill confirmed. 12:20 a.m. Silence descends. No more jet whines. No more muzzle flashes. No more enemy. Just 3 men in a dying aircraft, 140 miles from base, flying on one engine, losing altitude, damaged controls barely responding. Delano checks his fuel, 38 gallons. He's bleeding hydraulic fluid, losing oil pressure, and the working engine is overheating from carrying the full load. Every gauge shows red warnings. Every system is failing. But 840 men are heading home safely. And somehow, impossibly, that makes everything worth it. Hendricks plots a course to the nearest Allied airfield, a forward strip near Aachen, France, 95 miles west. Delano turns toward it, nursing the single engine, trimming for maximum efficiency, trading altitude for distance. The P-61 descends through 15,000 feet, then 14,000. Fuel, 32 gallons. The mathematics say he won't make it. Physics says survival is impossible. But Delano has spent the last 30 minutes proving that impossible is just another word for difficult. 12:34 a.m. Fuel, 18 gallons. Altitude, 11,200 feet. Distance to airfield, 47 miles. The mathematics are impossible. The engine will quit in 8 minutes. They'll be 20 miles short. And 20 miles might as well be 200 when you're gliding a 30,000-pound aircraft with a dead engine and damaged controls. Martinez abandons the turret, moves forward to help Delano with the controls. The damaged aileron requires constant correction, both men pulling together on the yoke, fighting the aircraft every second, arms screaming with fatigue. Hendricks transmits Mayday calls that crackle across frequencies. Allied radar stations track their approach. Emergency crews prepare. But everyone monitoring those radios understands the truth. The P-61 won't make the runway. 12:41 a.m. The engine coughs. Fuel, 4 gallons. Altitude, 8,600 feet. Distance, 22 miles. Through the breaking clouds, Delano identifies a large field bathed in moonlight, cleared farmland near the German-French border. He sets up for forced landing, but the hydraulic failure means the landing gear won't extend properly. They're going to belly land a crippled bomber at high speed in darkness. 12:43 a.m. The engine dies, complete fuel exhaustion. The propeller windmills uselessly in the slipstream. The P-61 descends at 600 feet per minute, and silence fills the cockpit. A silence broken only by wind noise and the breathing of 3 men who've kept each other alive through impossible odds. Delano glides toward the field. No power, no hydraulics, just gravity and momentum and skill earned through 90 missions. Altitude, 3,200 feet. Distance, 4 miles. They'll barely make it. The P-61 crosses the field boundary at 400 feet, airspeed 140 miles per hour. Too fast, but Delano has no choice. He flares, bleeding speed, the tail settling. Main gear touches frozen earth at 110 miles per hour. The landing gear collapses instantly. Metal shrieks. The P-61's belly strikes ground, friction creating sparks that stream behind like fireworks. The aircraft slides 800 feet across frozen soil, left wing digging in, spinning the fuselage 180 degrees. Then silence. Delano hangs in his harness, disoriented but alive. No fire, no explosion, just blessed silence, and the knowledge that they survived. Martinez kicks open the turret hatch. Hendricks climbs from the navigator's compartment, moving like an old man, hypothermia, making every movement difficult. Both men pull Delano from the cockpit, and they stand together beside their destroyed aircraft as dawn breaks on March 24, 1945. The Silent Reaper will never fly again. But 5 Me-262 jets will never hunt bombers again either. And 840 men are heading home to families who'll never know how close death came, how 3 strangers fought in darkness to protect them. American ground forces, elements of the 9th Armored Division, reached them at 6:15 a.m. A medic treats Delano's cracked ribs, Hendrix's severe frostbite, Martinez's whiplash. A colonel examines the wreckage, counts empty shell casings, listens to Delano's account. The colonel is skeptical until radio intercepts from German units confirm 5 Me-262s lost to unknown night fighter over Nuremberg. Then his skepticism transforms into something else: respect, awe. The understanding that sometimes ordinary men do extraordinary things because circumstances demand it and character allows it. By March 26th, all 3 crew members are cleared for duty. The Army Air Forces promotes Delano to captain, awards him the Distinguished Flying Cross. Hendrix and Martinez receive the Air Medal. The 422nd Night Fighter Squadron receives official commendation. More importantly, the bomber stream Delano protected, those 84 B-17s carrying 840 men, returned to base without losses that night. The navigator from Ohio got to see his daughter grow up. The waist gunner from Brooklyn eventually brought his wife to meet that mother whose cooking he never stopped talking about. The pilot from Montana flew 30 more missions with his wife's handkerchief in his jacket. Andy survived to give it back to her in person. They never knew Frank Delano's name, but they lived because he existed. Frank Delano returned to Worcester, Massachusetts in November 1945, carrying memories of darkness and decision, of fear conquered by duty, of the weight of 840 lives saved. He married Catherine Riley on January 12, 1946. They had 3 children who grew up knowing their father was a veteran, but never understanding the depth of what he'd done. Paul Hendrix settled in Denver, teaching mathematics and writing technical papers about acoustic aircraft tracking that influenced Air Force doctrine during the Korean War. Every March 23rd, he wrote Delano a letter. Every letter said the same thing in different words. "You saved my life. Thank you." Robert Martinez returned to San Antonio, where he worked as a machinist and raised 4 children who knew their father had fought in the war, but never knew he'd fired blind into darkness and hit invisible targets through skill and courage and maybe a little bit of grace. The 3 men reunited 7 times between 1946 and 1991. Each time, they discussed everything except March 23rd, 1945. That night remained private, understood without speaking, honored through silence rather than words. Frank Delano died in Worcester on August 4, 2003, at age 82. His obituary mentioned military service, but not the 5 kills, not the impossible mission, not the 840 lives saved. The details remained classified until 2008, when military historians began researching night fighter operations and found reports that shouldn't exist. 5 jets destroyed without radar, 3 men who refused to quit, courage measured in minutes and miles, and mathematics that said survival was impossible. Today, a single photograph exists: 3 young men beside Silent Reaper in February 1945, barely visible in grainy black and white. They're smiling, unaware that in 1 month they'll face their defining moment, their impossible mission, their chance to prove that humanity at its best means protecting others even when protection costs everything. That photograph hangs in the Air Force Museum, and nobody looking at it knows the whole story. They see 3 young men in flight jackets. They don't see the courage it took to fight blind in darkness. They don't see the 840 lives saved. They don't see March 23, 1945, when technology failed and humanity triumphed. But we see it, because stories like this deserve to be remembered. Because Frank Delano, Paul Hendrix, and Robert Martinez represent the best of what we can be. Ordinary people who became extraordinary, not through supernatural ability, but through the simple, profound choice to protect others even when protection seems impossible. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Every like tells YouTube to share this with more people, to rescue these memories from dusty archives, to honor men who deserved recognition they never received. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're bringing you forgotten stories of real heroism every single day. Stories about people who refused to quit, who protected others at impossible cost, who proved that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia. Our community spans the globe, and you're part of keeping these memories alive. Thank you for making sure Frank Delano, Paul Hendricks, and Robert Martinez don't disappear into silence. March 23, 1945. 3 men fought 5 jets in absolute darkness with dead radar and impossible odds. They won because they refused to accept defeat, because they trusted each other completely, because 840 lives mattered more than their own safety. They carried that memory through decades in Massachusetts, Colorado, and Texas, through marriages and children and quiet lives that never advertised their heroism. And now, through this story, their achievement lives on. These men deserve to be remembered. You're helping make that happen.